in Portland and one's in Spokane. Two bros in two towns, catching up when we can. News, life, and culture, reminiscing days past. Like, subscribe, and share the Real for Life podcast. Real for Life. Good evening and welcome to the Real for Life podcast with Jesse and Joe, coming at you with a special guest tonight, Rudy. Joe's friend from the Navy, my friend from a few interactions at Joe's wedding.
Just from working.
And Rudy is probably on a few government watch lists. But, I mean, that's all of us. So there you go.
That would be awkward working on an Air Force base. So, but yeah, they still let me in.
That's nice.
Right, Rodolfo Cambara, please introduce yourself.
All right, so I'm Rudy Cambara. Grew up in Southern California. I've known Joe since about 2006. I was at your wedding where I met personally Jesse, which I heard so much about through Joe. And we've been Joe and I have been best buds ever since. I mean, we don't talk every day, but I mean, it's just kind of like one of those bro ships, you know, where you just leave off right where you left off, you know, and that's kind of just been our relationship ever since. So, and then I met, yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
That's the beauty of bromances, I guess, or dude relationships. Cause like, I've got one friend, Keith, and I consider him one of my best friends. I see him once every other year, but we send a good 20 memes to each other on Instagram every day. Like, he's literally the first interaction I see in the morning because he lives in Utah. So he's up a lot earlier than me. And I just know I'm going to wake up. I'm going to have 2 or 3 memes of questionable content. Yeah. And that's our relationship. But it's also weird because, like, you and Joe are really good friends. And, you know, when me and Joe got out of high school, we both kind of went. I went to Army. He went to Navy. I stayed straight.
Yeah.
He joined the Navy. And but like, I remember hearing about Rudy and being like, I was a little bit jealous, like I was replaced, you know?
Yeah, you know what? We all kind of go through a little bit of that, though, Jesse. But I mean, when I first met you, it was kind of like one of those things where I was like, if we could hang out just a little bit more, it would be no different, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean,
I've never even met his older brother. I don't even, is Kenny older?
No, I'm the oldest.
He's the middle. I've never even met him. And I've talked to him on the phone. We've messaged each other. Like, him, Kenny, and Frankie are like all good friends. And I've never even met the middle one.
Yeah, you've never met Kenny. And
Irish and Mexicans automatically get along.
Yeah. I think it's the Irish in you. You're like the European beaner, and we just like hold hands and couple our freaking fingers together, and we just either pick potatoes or strawberries. It just depends, you know, on the season.
Well, Rudy, I don't know how familiar you are with the show, but typically the format of our show is me and Joe will call each other a couple times a day if we see like a dumb bumper sticker or something. And rather than doing that, now what we do is we just write down random stuff that we want to talk to each other about, and every 2 weeks we get together and we go through our list. The reason we wanted to have you on, and we'll get to it a little later in the show, is because we kind of dabbled into talking about basically immigration and ICE and that whole thing. And you as a Mexican American. Can I say American Mexican?
So what I consider myself is just a straight American. I was born in Orange County legally by my father, who came from Guatemala, on a residence card. My grandmother worked for Mr. Williams, who was a World War II vet, and he was disabled. He vetted like back in the day, or even still to this day, I don't know how similar it is today than it was like in the mid or early 70s. It is to the immigration standard type of thing. But my grandmother, she came to the United States on a work visa. Nice. And she worked for Mr. Williams for about 10 to 12 years, leaving my dad and 4 uncles in Guatemala on a ranch. And so what ended up happening is my grandmother ended up getting my uncles and my dad sponsored. Sponsorship was a huge thing. It's like, yeah, are you gonna assimilate? Are you guys gonna, and the very first thing my grandmother did was send my dad and 4 uncles to school to learn English. Now my mother, she's a Hernandez from Mexico, and initially she came to the United States illegally, met my dad. She ended up falling in love with my dad. They started working on her papers, this and that. And then here comes, my birth name is Rodolfo Cambara. So that's as beaner as it gets. I mean, it sounds like a drug lord from freaking like the Latin Americas, you know what I mean? It's like
Rodolfo it is Cambara. Making a little more sense. Joe told me you preferred the term Latinx. I just wanted to
make hell no. Hell no, dude. That's like
you're a bottom.
Yeah, dude, that's as triggering for me as it is to the left to like be called the wrong pronoun type of thing, I think. You know what I mean? It's like, no.
From what I hear, no Mexicans actually like that term.
There's been a poll that was done, and I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but they were around like the high 80s, low 90s, where Latinos, we don't like that term. And the thing about it is like, for example,
I thought it was like a gay Mexican. What is the term?
Yeah, that's kind of what it really breaks down to, because in Spanish, it's very pronouns are very specific. So you're either
almost every word is gender specific.
Yeah, it's gender specific. Yeah. And so what ends up happening is you end up going through this crossroad of trying to delete that historical, gender language that's very specific in Spanish, and for a lot of Latinos, we don't like it. It's never been something that I know for the majority that it's not something that's well accepted, or even when they use it on the news or whatever, it's like a cringe. You're just like, oh gosh, dude, no. I'm either a he or a she, you know what I mean? It's like very, very particular when it comes to that.
Don't go start using biology on us.
I know.
So another common trend in this show is me butting in.
Why are you so white?
Ooh, me?
Damn.
Or Rudy? Oh.
Nobody's met Rudy. You're the whitest Mexican I've ever met in my life. I'm tanner than you.
It's funny that you say that, because
I say it all the time. But the audience,
I can stand in line at a grocery store and just hear two, like a mom or a daughter, and they're just kind of like going at it the whole entire time, following their conversation, eavesdropping as a freaking Latino would, because it's none of your damn business. But you're like, in Spanish we call it chisme, and chisme is basically like it's basically like having like listening into a conversation to get like the gossip. That's pretty much what it means, And I have a 12-year-old daughter. She both my daughters went to CNL's International School,
Hmm.
which is it's English Spanish school. So it's like 50 or no 60-40, and then as they get into like high school level, they're already reading, writing, and speaking in Spanish. So I never went away from like, I never went away from my heritage. But the thing is, like, it's kind of one of those type of conversations. Like, for example, I have cousins and other Hispanics that would call me what's called a nopal. A nopal is a cactus. And it's basically like being a traitor to your kind type of thing. So it's a derogatory insult.
Uncle Sam.
So
isn't that a derogatory term?
You're thinking Uncle Thomas.
No, isn't that like? Sorry, am I off the cuff? But when another black dude calls another black dude Uncle Sam, isn't that?
I thought Uncle Tom.
Uncle Tom. Sorry, way
same
off.
Thing. Yeah, same thing.
It would be. It's the same in Hispanics, but it's Uncle Tomas. Nice. Boom. These are the jokes, people. So, so I've got a friend right now, and his kid, and he's white as can be.
I'm a little upset right now. It's pretty good.
But so he's got his kids in a Spanish immersion class, which I think is awesome to have as an option. Me personally, me and Joe in high school, we had lowriders. We've always been. I don't know if Joe as much as me, but I've always had a huge crush on the entire Latin culture, mostly the women, which is why I would like to learn Spanish. But earlier you said something, and it was you were, what's the word for blending? Assimilating. So that's a conversation I got into with a liberal a couple of weeks ago, because they were bringing up the whole like national language thing, and I was like, well, listen, if you decided you wanted to move to Brazil, do you think that you should be able to just move there and that they should have to learn English so that you can get your driver's license and you can get a job and everything? Or would you be okay being expected to learn Portuguese? And they're like, well, of course I would learn their language. And I was like, hello? Like, why is there a double standard there? And later on in the conversation, I kindly pointed out to them that, America, for all of its flaws, and, historically we definitely have some, but we're the most diverse country in the world by far. And still the number one sought after place. And I just don't see why it's so bad to say, if you're going to come here, bring it. You're welcome. Welcome to the fold. But once again, like, totally cool to hold on to your heritage, but you also need to say, if you're going to be in America, like, we're an American now. Not saying you have to start going to Christian church, but like, we have a certain set of values and a language and all that.
I completely agree. The way that I argue with a lot of libs and a lot of like this is stolen land type of people is that mind you, I'm first generation, you know what I mean? My biggest thing is that the Constitution is written in English.
Right.
And that is the Bill of Rights, Constitution, that's the law of the land. And the thing about it is when you have people coming from foreign countries and they don't know how to read the Bill of Rights or the Constitution, they're doing themselves a disservice. Because you could live here for, as an illegal immigrant, move here, and then all of a sudden, there are certain standards and expectations that every citizen has to abide to. But when the illegal alien comes over here, they start carrying their own flag, and they're like, "You're on stolen land." It's like, no, dude, read a history book. I mean, Mexico Mexico
No.
only had like part of the United States for 21 years before Spain was conquered by Mexico. So if you read a history book, it's very, very, very clear that when it comes down to it, this land wasn't stolen. It was actually purchased after the Mexican American War was lost by
In the
Mexico
Southwest, yeah,
for
Southwest, but
$15 million. So it's
there's not a
like,
square inch of land on the earth that hasn't been conquered multiple times over by different groups of
exactly.
people. Like me and Joe, we've kind of had this conversation a few times about like, you know, conquering land and all that. And I don't know. I find the new argument. I always try to see both sides of an argument. So
Of
for
course.
my argument on the illegal immigration thing, I would say this. I would love to see an easier process for Mexicans or whoever wants to come over here and get a work visa easier. Maybe not citizenship, but a work visa, right?
Right.
I would love to see a more streamlined process for that because I totally understand if people want to come here, work. You know, we've got plenty of jobs that, you know, unfortunately, a lot of Americans don't want to do. I understand that. But
Right.
the illegal thing, like if you came in illegally, like you broke
You're
the
already a
law.
criminal.
Yeah,
In
and we can
in all
certainly work
reality,
on
you're
that.
already a criminal.
So I don't know
But
where the laws are right now, but when I was in the military, you could come over and join the military as an immigrant to
Mhm.
fast
yeah,
track
I had
your
a
immigration.
Chinese buddy that
Yeah,
was
so
a
I had
soldier with me.
Naboo. He was from Nigeria,
Yeah.
and I was on the boat with him, went through boot camp, got to the boat, and then he finally had to take his test to become American. And the test, in my opinion, was fucking hard because he knew more shit about America than I did. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
And he passed the test, and he came back to the boat crying, like
Yep.
just
that's amazing.
so
Yep.
proud, holding two little flags, just like I made it, and everybody gave him a hug, like it was fucking awesome.
Dude,
And
that's why I wish every dude could go through boot camp because like we had a dude, the guy I was talking about, he was Chinese and he joined the army for 4 years so that he could get his citizenship. And he shared a bunk with a dude named Kroom from Chicago that was said, you either join the army or your crackhead ass is going to jail. And like, where else does that happen? Like,
right,
you know, we talk about diversity and stuff. You will
Yeah.
never find more diversity than the first day of basic training
right,
with
you're like,
everybody in the
I believe
room.
it.
Like, I had a guy next to me that, you know, once again, crackhead over here, guy trying to get his citizenship. Dude next to me named Luke. The only reason he joined, and he was very open about it, is because he wanted to run for office someday. His dad was a
Right.
full bird colonel. And I'm just saying, like, you just the diversity is off the charts. And then the drill sergeants come in and say, hey, guess what?
You're-
All
you're
of you are pieces of shit. Congratulations.
it doesn't
Like,
fucking matter. And that's what's amazing about boot camp.
yes.
Dude, I've never had the honor to serve, but I mean, I've always loved like World War One, World War Two, and hopefully not World War Three history, but we'll see where that happens or where that goes. But it's and a lot of it had to do with my grandmother. She ended up marrying a white man named Harold Schwarzer or
Yeah, it's white.
something like that.
That's
It's
fucking white.
super white, dude. And he was an architect. He served post uh World War II. So it's just basically like the cleanup and
Mhm.
doing a lot of that stuff. But I mean, he just had history books upon history books of the subject. And I always looked at that as something honorable, right?
Mhm.
As something like now I the should have, could have, would have, I would have served it. I'm not one of those guys, but I did have a high school girlfriend from freshman to senior year, and as I was gonna become a Marine, she's like, "If you join the Marine Corps, we're fucking done." Because her mom put it in her head, do you know
Mm.
what being in the military, having a military husband's going to be like, and
Gonna cheat
she
on
just
each other.
straight up told me, she's like, you join, we're done, and
Which
then
was
you get into,
her, but dumb as you.
huh?
Because she wasn't right or wrong, and you weren't right or wrong. Like,
Oh, dude, military marriages do not last.
they
Like,
don't last.
I'm with her on that one. I had the opposite. My high school girlfriend, I went to basic, broke up with her for that. And then,
Was it for that?
What's that?
Was it for that?
I joined the army, and I was like, hey, I'm going to the army. We're going to, oh, actually, no, because I kind of stayed with her. I stayed with her through basic training. She
cheated on him.
But with one of my best friends in my car.
Oh,
in my car. So this is how dumb I am, Rudy. So my high school sweetheart was a year younger than me.
Uh-huh.
So I was in basic training during her prom. So I was like, you know what, just go with my buddy Heath. He's a great guy. Take my Honda Prelude. You guys will have fun. It'll be great.
On
I
20s.
didn't find out till years later that they hooked up in my car. And you know what? Good for Heath. Good for Heath. She was a smoke show back then. And she was also really clingy. She ended up joining the army so that she could try to salvage the relationship, which kind of tells you how,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. Just saying. But it was a whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to slow it down a little bit. And do you have a list this week, Joe?
I don't. Rudy's my list.
Rudy's your list. Okay. We're going to get back into the immigration thing. I just want to pepper in some stuff here so that we can do the dumb stuff with the actual important stuff that we're talking about. I don't even get the first one. Let's talk about bikini baristas. So this week, once a year, I'll have a bad day, and I'll remedy that bad day by going to the bikini barista.
But Portland kills it in that matter. So Rudy lives in Albuquerque. They don't have coffee there.
Oh, dude, it's way. What one of our listeners, one of my good friends, Scott, he moved to Tennessee. There was no coffee. They just opened their 6th coffee shop over there. They're crushing it.
Right. There's no coffee down there. Like, I went down there, 8 years ago. I'm like, can I get a coffee? Starbucks. I'm like, fuck Starbucks. There is no coffee stands.
Now we have a
Spokane where there's a drive-through every block.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
But we have what's called bikini baristas, and it's just what it sounds. It's a bikini stand. It's a coffee stand where the chicks are wearing like stripper clothes, right?
Or
sometimes just pasties.
And they're basically off-duty strippers.
Yeah. And I got a
they're double dipping.
Yes.
I got a large iced mocha, and it cost, I think it was $15.
Oh my gosh.
And then you know how they hand you like the fucking thing with the pre-tip percentages? The lowest percentage on there was 35%.
Oh God.
And I fucking paid it because listen, if you're gonna wake up at typically hoes will wake up at 2 p.m. and then go strip. These girls wake up at 4 a.m., do their hair, do their makeup, put on very few clothes to support the men of industry that are running and supporting this country. They're doing God's work. So I paid it. And then she kindly mentioned her Venmo and her Amazon wish list and her Patreon. Good for her.
And she's gonna be a nurse.
Exactly. Oh yeah, she's just paying for school. But
for sure.
No, I left the tip because I do honestly feel they earn it. I got in a lot of trouble last week. I was at work and we were talking about tipping because it's getting fucking ridiculous. And I told him that I think it's wrong that you tip at Starbucks or coffee shops when if it's a drive-through, they're doing nothing different than a McDonald's worker. Why the fuck do they get it?
Right. Is if you walk up or drive up to a window or a person, there's no tip. If somebody serves you, then there's a tip.
Right.
Yeah. But if you're bus your own table or whatever, there's no tip in that.
Yeah. So I told the group at work, I'm like, honestly, I only tip at coffee stands if it's a hot chick. Because I feel like she's making the effort. She wore the tight jeans. She knows why I'm there. Blah, 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 blah. To which one of my coworkers like, yeah, my daughter's a barista.
Ooh.
And she did not look happy. And I was like, hey,
is she cute?
fuck, that's how the world works.
No.
I don't know. I do not know.
Where is it that she baristas
I don't
at,
know.
or,
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. The people that I work with are awesome, and I don't want to ruin that. So
Coffee's different.
Yeah.
If you get a coffee, it's $1. Each drink is $1. It's like back in the 90s when you got a beer.
I mean, that's still how I treat beer, honestly. I know beer is more expensive, but I still do $1 per beer. Same at the strip club, $1 per boob per song.
Right. You get 3 beers, it's $3. Like, I don't give a fuck if it was $30. You serve me 1 or 3 beers. It's $1.
Yeah.
All right. Can I hit another subject and then we'll get back into it?
Yeah,
really,
sure.
Really fucking excited about this next one. Wanted to call you,
Brought
Joe.
to you by Zen, ladies and gentlemen. Bucky's and Zen. So let's see if we can get some
fuck, dude.
Sponsor.
We can get some sponsors out there.
You couldn't be more fucking American right now if you tried. Bucky's and Zins.
Trust me, you wouldn't think that I came from Beaners.
So I'm out the other day, and Parker, he does Taekwondo. So every Tuesday when I drop him off, I go for Taco Tuesday at the bar right next door. Hell yeah. So I go over there. There's 4 chicks at the bar. All of them are like 50 to 57 and a half, right? Definitely no 58-year-olds. And you've got one of them, you've got the classic, a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. And obviously they're like 50, so it's all fucking colored, right?
Right.
They're all gussied up. And then the girl on the end was like, yeah, I'm 55 and I'm just gonna act like it. So she had her hair colored, but it was colored like fucking platinum gray, right?
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah.
It was kind of fucking hot. I like it. Like, if you're gonna age, don't try to hold on to youth. Have you ever seen a girl that's like 25 that has like the platinum gray hair? It's hot as shit.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. And the girl on the end, also, to her credit, you could tell she actually went to the gym and did some legit maintenance instead of just nails and hair color like the other ones.
Eyelashes too. Yeah.
You can age gracefully and still be sexy. It can be done.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And unfortunately, like, I don't know if it's like Cosmopolitan or whoever decided to instill this type of mindset in aging women, but like, there's nothing more hotter than like my wife, you know what I mean? Like, just turned 40. When she gets dolled up, I'm like, holy crap, you know? And I look at these 20-year-olds like getting fake everything, and you're just like, oh God, what are you doing to yourself? You know what I mean?
I think we're programmed to be, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some 20, 25-year-old chicks that are absolute smoke shows. Like, I'm not turning Sydney Sweeney down, but like, I think as you get older, you just definitely appreciate women in your own age bracket a lot more. I heard this comedian the other day. He was like, yeah, I wouldn't even know how to fucking date a 20-year-old. Like, what do you do after you have sex? What do you say to him? You can have 15 more minutes on your iPad and then we're going to bed. Like, like
oh God, it's so true.
Yeah. So,
So I don't know how true that. Have you seen
Tom Brady? Tom Brady has been hanging out with Sydney Sweeney. That motherfucker has already won enough in life.
Just came out.
The what?
Zac Efron. Have you seen this picture?
Yeah. Like, I've seen him post the accident. His jaw's real big.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, he got in a really bad, I think it was a car wreck. And they had to do like full reconstructive surgery.
Okay, now I feel like it did.
Oh yeah. I've seen that one too.
Lips done, and he's tan, and he just looks like he got all his Botox.
No.
Yeah, you know,
accident.
I didn't like Zac Efron just because all the fucking chicks liked him. But the more movies I watch him in, I'm a fan.
Did you watch the fucking series Down to Earth?
No.
Watch it. I watched it like 8 times. It's great
Really?
to fall asleep to. Him and his hippie buddy, they're both millionaires, just like travel the world and see how other countries do shit.
Oh, it sounds like a great show.
Yeah, it's not like it's not even political. It's just like, how do you do water? Like, how do you figure out life? Like, it's fucking great. It's called Down to Earth. It's amazing.
Oh, you know what? You told me about that show. Yeah, I still have yet to watch it because of distractions, but yeah.
It's a great
I
show.
remember you talking about it, yeah.
So
He's the one that told me to take off my shoes because there's an episode on just earthing, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't believe that. And it's just like,
dude.
and there's a
Last time
whole
we were-
movement on earthing, and there's like the whole like in the early 2000s they were like creating a bed system where you could like plug it into the ground. I'm like, that's insane. And then I watched this one series, and I was like, that actually fucking makes sense.
So last summer we're in Coeur d'Alene, and I told my wife, I was like, hey, we're at the park. We're walking across this big old field. We're like, dude, we should touch grass. Take your fucking sandals off.
Right.
She got 5 feet, got stung by a bee.
Oh my god. Got too much earthing.
Yeah.
Dude, I just grew up in a house like my driveway. My dad grew up, I wouldn't say very poor, but pretty poor. And so our driveway was volcano rock because it was the cheapest rock you could buy. So you wouldn't walk on it. And then our lawn with this huge thistle tree. So if you walked out there with no shoes, you're going to fucking die. There was like 3-inch thistles, like thorns that would just kill you. So I never went outside without shoes on. So my whole life, I've always worn shoes.
I got very weak
That
feet.
makes a lot of sense about you now.
Mhm.
You went from that to the ocean.
Well, and then in the Navy, you always wear shoes. You're not going to fucking shower without your shoes on. That's fucking gross.
That's gross. Yeah. Oh, no thanks, man.
Right. So I've just always worn shoes. So like being barefoot is very new to me at 40.
Yeah.
All right, I'm coming back to seriousness.
Okay.
Question for Rudy. I feel awkward asking you questions just because you're like the resident Hispanic heritage person. Or I'm going to do it anyway, but so one thing I've never understood is I understand like Joe, for example, he's got a large Irish background. I mean, look at his fucking face.
Yep.
The guy's Irish, right? He looks like Temu Colin Farrell.
Yep.
So,
and he's a wee lad. He's a wee lad.
But what I don't get is like, so you're protesting ICE, you're protesting being sent back, but then you're waving the Mexican flag. You're waving the flag of a country that you're refusing to go back to. I don't get that. I want to understand that.
So a lot of it has to do with having a bit of national pride, having an understanding of heritage. Personally, I mean, I got unfriended by one of my cousins because I was posting like pro ICE, pro illegal immigration type of content on my Facebook and stuff. And I ended up messaging him and I said, "Do you even know our family history? Like, did your dad not tell you how you came to America? Like how you came to like be born in Orange County type of thing?" And a lot of it has to do with that. It has to do with I can't speak for everybody, but I think the census is that you get these guys who grow up in Mexican households. They're either speaking Spanish or speaking Spanglish. Okay. And they end up identifying themselves with Mexico rather than the United States because being a Chicano is I think Edward James Olmos said it best, and I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie Selena. He said it's hardest being
I watched
Mexican.
it, but but not with sound. I was just
Oh,
fuck, she
early
was hot. She
J-Lo.
was hot, dude.
Yeah, early J-Lo. A lot of it has to do with like one of the quotes from that movie that he said, you know, it's hard being Mexican American because the Mexicans don't accept you because you're American, and then the Americans don't accept you because you're Mexican.
That's a
And
tough position.
and it is a tough position, but the thing about it is there is not one single Mexican American that I know that can pull the race card to the extent, unless it was the 1950s and 1960s with like Richie Valens and like all this Cesar Chavez. Like there are some historical figures in the Mexican community, Mexican American community, that a lot of people look up to because they did go through adversity, you know. But the irony behind all of that is I am so freaking like Caucasian looking. You look at my brother Kenny, he's
Black.
browner than a bean, dude. Okay. And then you look at the rest of my family and they look a lighter shade of Spanish,
Frankie looks
Mexican.
more Mexican than you do. You're just like white as fuck.
Yeah.
You and Kenny are twins, but Kenny is black. Like he
Yeah.
looks like Oscar.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't
And
know.
so
We call him blackface. He's a very
Yeah.
dark Mexican.
yeah, he's a very dark complexion Mexican. He stays out in the sun and he gets like, you know, when you leave the toast in the toaster for a little bit too long, that's kind of how he gets, you know what I mean? And for me, like I get left in the toaster and I still come out white bread, you know? So, but the irony behind my growing up, and yeah, this is just something like personal, but if you were to look at all my daughters, they look Caucasian. They look blonde hair, colored eyes, you know, and then you look at, you know, my brother and his wife, she's like Costa Rican, dark complected, dark hair. And um, growing up, I got bullied because I didn't look Mexican enough. Because I look like a white boy, and that's what they would call me. So I had to learn how to swing my hands, dude. Like I got in so many fights.
From what I've heard
because
on
I
the
was
internet, white people never get made fun of. They're always the aggressor.
Oh
Is that
no.
wrong?
No.
Also, I believe it's pronounced Cesar Chavez. It's actually Greek.
Like
But
little
even
Caesars.
Claudia's pretty white, but she's still like olive compared to you.
Right.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
want to point out the
White
progressiveness
sibling.
of the Real for Life podcast. Rudy, I believe your wife's white, right?
She is so her mom's Spanish, her dad is a Mueller.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So
My wife's Cambodian,
mhm.
and Joe's just over here perpetuating the fucking
The whiteness.
the patriarchy. What's it called? You, you're building more colonizers, Joe.
Hey, my
No,
wife thought I was
but-
Mexican until after I was married, she thought I was Mexican. Sitting there in San Diego, she's like, "You're not Mexican." I was like, "No shit."
Fuck. So my wife, kind of a different path.
Sorry, pause. My dad's called me Jose my entire life, so she just assumed, and I tan very well.
You do.
She just always thought I was Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
Condon.
Yeah.
That's the
So my
Spanish
wife's Cambodian. She's first generation born here. Her parents came here because of that whole thing in Cambodia. They were in the prison camps. It was a horrible thing.
Yeah.
And she grew up. Their family was sponsored over by a Catholic family. And her grandpa was like a legit Cambodian monk. Fucking loved America. Biggest conservative ever. Was so happy to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I never got the chance to meet her father because he passed when she was in high school. But when she was growing up in a small Oregon town, being Cambodian, which they joke that they're the Mexicans of Asia because they're like dark skin, their country's poor, like
Yeah.
There's Mexicans out all around the world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But they spoke Cambodian in the home, and she just shunned it. She didn't want to learn the history, really. She didn't want to learn the language because she didn't want to be different. So
Right.
she was, she was all, English and all that. And so to this day, and my mother-in-law lives with us, she'll speak Cambodian once in a while, and she can kind of understand it, but she can't speak it.
Mhm.
And it's a weird thing because I don't know how you bridge that gap where you want people to be happy to be here, proud to be American, but also realize like there's nothing wrong with honoring your heritage or being proud of your heritage or where your ancestors came from.
Right.
Absolutely not. As long as your priorities are, if war breaks out tomorrow, and that's a big argument right now in Congress, is like, because there's so many members of Congress that are dual citizens with us and
Yep.
Israel. And it's
Yep.
like, when the shit hits the fan, like, I
Where's
don't
your
even
legion?
think you should be allowed to have dual citizenship. I think it's like,
No.
you belong to one country or you belong to another country, because if war happens,
you're in a political office. I agree with that.
Yeah. In
okay,
political
so
office,
maybe political office is a better way to put it. If you want to run for United States Congress, you should have to renounce any other citizenships you have, because otherwise you're gonna be you're gonna be conflicted.
Right.
So like, Ilhan Omar, she's said openly, like, everything I do in Congress is for Somalia. I
Somalia.
don't give two shits about America.
Yep. Yeah, and the funny thing is that, with a lot of these democratic socialists and straight communist people, they just they're getting more open about it and more hiding it a lot less. And in order for it, personally, for me to think that they're doing it intentionally in order to influence the younger generation, in order to be okay with it. And one argument that I had with one of my cousins, and a lot of people just don't know history, like the United States, they set up coups. The CIA set up coups in Guatemala, in Chile, in Venezuela, in a lot of different countries. But what
Ukraine.
ended up happening is the spearhead of the movements they were trying to stop were all communist. The in the 1950s in Guatemala, there were there was a communist movement. And what ended up happening is there were so many sympathizers that I mean, just imagine having China just down the street from Mexico. You know what I mean? Like, no, no. You know what I mean? We're a constitutional republic. We're a capitalist country. And obviously it's worked. Is there flaws? Of course there is. Of course there's flaws. You have corporate America that's like putting money and funding politicians that are sensitive to certain issues that have the American interest not there. But what ends up happening is that if they go and grow enough momentum and you start having these revolutionary figures, then the populace becomes more split. And the greatest thing that any country like China, Russia, or any adversary would love, if we just killed and destroyed each other from within. Because
I mean, that's the goal right now.
it is. It is.
The communism
Absolutely.
thing is funny to me because it's never worked, but somehow it won't die. Like, every generation, there's always people that are like, "Oh no, they just haven't done it right yet," and they keep bringing it up.
Because
you talk about Americans' history,
because it sounds like a good idea to a child. And I'm gonna go back to, like, you made a point like 20 minutes ago of heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna touch base on that a little bit. So when I was a kid, and I believe every kid, but I'm going off my own thing, like, you want to find yourself. So like,
From what I hear, you found yourself a lot, Joe.
I find myself every day. But I was like, I'm Irish, so like I'm gonna be fucking Irish. And so I got some Irish tattoos. I was Catholic, so I got a bunch of fucking Catholic tattoos. Like, this is who I am. So you got like, you try to find an identity. And with communism, if they want to call it that or not at that age, it's like, no, the government shouldn't exist and people should work for themselves. And like the government should just divvy you out whatever you want and nobody really has to work. Like, because that's the fundamental thing of communism is like even divvy for everybody else.
Well, everybody thinks there's like this finite amount of money, and that if this billionaire is making more money, then that's more money you're not going to have, as if there's only like a certain amount of pie and they're taking all the pie, which is just not true. But the other thing, like I was saying, every generation keeps bringing this up, and our history is so short. Like, you've got a guy that just won the primary in New York, something Mamdani, and he's, of course, a Democrat's going to win that. So you're going to have a Muslim, open communist Muslim, the mayor in a town that 24 years ago saw the Twin Towers fall. How the fuck is that possible?
Well, that was the CIA, but that's a
different. I'm not going to say it was an inside job. I'm saying that there was a lot more going on there than just hijackers. I will admit to that.
I think it's a combination of a lot of people with bleeding hearts. What they end up doing is they sympathize with certain aspects of people's viewpoints, and the thing is, like, my heart bleeds, but it doesn't bleed for freaking these liberal socialist communist issues. I mean, it bleeds for the people like you guys who served, the people before me. Like, I came here with a clean slate, guys. I don't owe reparations.
Fucked it right up right away.
I never had a history of slavery, It's like, and the sad thing about it is, I think Rob Schneider had one of the greatest freaking bits ever.
I'm going to see him in August.
Oh, dude.
He's fucking great.
Yeah.
He's so funny, dude. And he said, did you know that California is planning on paying reparations to people who were never slaves, to people who never owned slaves, to a state who never had slaves?
Right.
Because California was even around during that time of slavery.
Dude, I had this conversation with somebody at work the other day.
My family came here during the fucking potato famine. We were here after slavery. So why am I paying taxes on something my ancestors were not even involved with?
Exactly.
This is why we shouldn't have taken in the Irish. They don't even know how to grow potatoes. I'm just saying.
Them and the Chinese had to make that railroad.
Potatoes.
Them and the Chinese had to make that railroad, or else it wouldn't have been made.
I had that conversation with somebody a couple days ago. We were talking about Juneteenth, and they were like, oh, we were kind of bringing up like, is this a holiday that should be celebrated and blah blah blah. And I was like, you know what? Yes,
it's 4th of July.
I'm good with celebrating Juneteenth, right? But I want the context to be different. Like, whenever we talk about slavery in the United States and the Civil War, we always focus on the South. And we never focus on the 300,000 plus Northern white soldiers that fought that war to end slavery. Like, we never celebrate that. Like, yes, our country's had issues, but we're the first country to fight a civil war to end slavery.
And I'm pretty sure that we're
tons of white people died to do it.
Smallest slavery era.
Ownership. Yeah.
Era, yes, we did. Yeah.
There was like,
once again, like, I'm not trying to minimize what happened. It was terrible, but
I agree.
I wish that we would celebrate overcoming it more than we dwell on the evilness of it. I mean, how many other countries have said, you know what, we're going to end slavery, and 300,000 people died to make it happen, that, no skin off their back if it keeps going.
Right.
No? So,
yeah. Well,
Anyway.
can I just bring back the conversation on one thing, like the illegal immigration thing, right? There are more human slaves today than there ever was. What's going on here? All flexing or what?
Anybody want to say hi to my lady over here?
No. Hola. Of course, I had to say it in Spanish.
No.
Anyway,
that's Asian. Konnichiwa.
So, there are more slaves today than there ever was in the world's history. And the fact of the matter is there's 300,000 children that are still missing during the Biden era of having open borders.
Mm-hmm.
If you look it up, there's a Huffington Post article, mind you, not the most conservative freaking
Right.
You know what I mean? Not the most conservative site ever, right? But they put an article out. I want to say it was like 2014. So that was around Obama's era. There is so the coyotes, when they bring women and children, the women, the girls, little girls are put on they're put on birth control because they're getting ready to cross the border, and more than likely they're going to end up being raped. So to prevent
terrible, they just accept
pregnancy, and what they do is they have what are called rape trees. They literally hang the panties of these little girls on trees and basically mark the area of where these little girls are being raped.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a disgusting thing to say, but it's also a thing that the left just completely undermined because they think that they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart to allow these open borders from people that are leaving poverty. Yes, of course, but there's like no political war or anything else. And some can argue that, yeah, people who leave Mexico, maybe they're leaving the war zone of cartel battles that happen back and forth and stuff like that.
But
One
then
could argue that
they fucking support M13 at the same time.
Exactly. MS-13. So how it's a double-edged sword, and unfortunately, the port of entry, the legal port of entry, is the only possible good and righteous way in order for people from Latin America to come through, be vetted, understand who they are, and what their intention is to come to the United States. I think it's within the peril of the United States in order to make that happen, because what's going to end up happening is you get MS-13 over here, you get illegal aliens that are driving drunk, killing people, illegal aliens that are just raping and murdering Americans. And it's like, that's because you have a bleeding heart for these people. It's like, no, dude, that's not.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that as well. Where, like, I always say 2% ruins it for everybody else.
True.
And so most, I'm still going to say illegal aliens are good working individuals that just want to help their lives.
Right.
It's the cartel and everybody else that's bringing them over here that fucking just cloud that and make it terrible.
Right.
Yes, you.
So 2 points to make here. Number one, as an olive branch to the left and to liberals, and what I would hope would be every American. Yes, I do want ICE to do its job. Yes, I do want all illegal immigrants sent back. Okay. However, a lot of this has happened. People come over here because they know that they can work. I also want to see American business people that are hiring illegals. I want them punished as well because they're helping that system. You know, they're not doing the rape trees and all that.
Rudy
But they're partly contributing to that. They're the reason that it happens. Yes.
If you remember this, we had to go to Norfolk, Virginia, because Ferguson, I'm going to call him out, Ferguson, who we used to work for, hired a bunch of fucking illegals.
Yep.
And this is a huge corporation. and everybody got fucking canned because they realized they hired like hundreds of illegal immigrants. And me, Rudy, and my whole crew and other crews, we used to work on crews that worked for this company. We were called the SWAT team. It was pretty gangster. Anyways, we all had to go there and run this fucking warehouse because they all got deported. And I'm like, how does this corporation?
Yeah, I want to see the farmers that are hiring them and everybody else.
Like,
I want to see them get in trouble, and I would love to see more work visas, but I want to see them get in trouble more. The second point I was going to make, I think I forgot because I drank too much. What was the first point? I want to see those people punished. Also coming
corporations punishment. Yeah.
Hashtag corp. Oh, the other point. Yeah. So here's the other point. I don't understand how liberals can hate the Second Amendment so much, because if other countries, all the countries that these people come from, and they come to America for a better life, America did it once. I would like to think we would do it again, but a lot of guys today are fucking pussies. We didn't like the way that things were going. So did we leave and go somewhere else? No. We fought a revolutionary war, and we fucking made it the way we wanted to make it. I would love to see more countries. If you're living in like Mexico ran by the cartels and all that bullshit, fucking rise up, kill those fucking cartels, and make your country great. That's what I would like to see. But a lot of these countries, they don't have a Second Amendment. The only people with guns are the government. And so it's very hard for them to do that.
I can argue that against you right there, because like in Mexico, I believe it's illegal to own a gun.
Well, you have to jump through so many hoops. It's kind of like it's kind of the same with Japan. So in Japan, they have to get like Uber permits and go through special training. You basically like got to be a special operator, but you're just using it for hunting.
Unless you're the cartel that has money and just has guns. So I will argue
against Canada's on its way there.
There's no way like, the poor people of Mexico can fight off. It's not even the government, it's the cartels. There's no fucking way.
Well, they could if they were able to own guns and if they had the will to do it. But unfortunately, the mindset is, well, we'll just go somewhere else where it's better, where it's like, you know,
no, I totally agree with
you have a good friend. A good friend never roots against you. A good friend celebrates your successes, even if you're doing way better than them. That's why me and Joe are still friends. And you're doing better than me. No, like, so I've got a friend that is in a very lucrative business. Used to be my neighbor, Joe, you know him, and he's crushing it. And I couldn't be fucking happier for him, right? I wish it was like that with countries too. Like this guy over in, is it Venezuela? The you know who I'm talking about? Afuela.
Oh, the dictator over there? The
guy that got elected that's like super conservative, Wolverine haircut.
Oh, that's El Salvador.
Which country it is. El Salvador.
El Salvador,
yes. But I would love to see more stuff like that, where we see a country doing the right thing and we're like, hell yeah, dude. That's nice job.
No, I can't agree with you more. And unfortunately, the tentacles of the powers that be, they suppress that type of success. And I wouldn't say that it's nefarious, like in the sense that they're doing it because they don't want the competition. But when it really comes down to, look at what happened with the United States and China. You know, as 1990s, before 1990s, manufacturing was booming before Clinton. And then what ended up happening is that they ended up opening free trade with China, and they're eating our lunch, dude.
Everything in this garage.
Dude, I mean, it's insane. So I think one of the biggest deterrents that they're trying to do is not necessarily try to stop the chaos in Mexico, Guatemala, Venezuela, Colombia, all these Latin countries. I don't think it's nefarious that they're trying to they're not trying to help because of fear of competition. I think they just don't want to be in a position where they're already doing that. Like Mexico, for example, closest neighbor, right? As soon as Mexico starts doing something in order to help with the fentanyl trafficking and everything else, what does Canada do? They open their ports to China. Fentanyl goes through Vancouver, goes through Quebec, goes through all these other countries north of the border. And that's how they find these holes because either a three-letter agency is trying to continue to get rich and get this black money where they're not responsible for the outcome, but they are benefiting with that black money in order to do their own operations. I think the three-letter agencies are probably split down the middle 50-50 because these agencies have people that are higher up that are making calls, that are making the decisions in order for the United States not necessarily suffer directly, but they're just putting a blind eye in order for it to continue so they can continue to fill their pockets. I mean, if anything,
so me and Joe,
yeah, go ahead.
Me and Joe, we had an amazing teacher in high school, Mr. Inman.
Yeah.
Long-haired hippie dude. The dude is literally banned from the state of Georgia because every year he would go to Fort Benning, where I went to basic, and he would protest the School of Americas. And the School of Americas is a program at Fort Benning where they take people from all over the world and they train them in how we fight war so that they can go back to their country. And 100% of the time, those people end up saying, fuck America, death to America. And then they use it against us. Osama bin Laden went to the School of Americas. So, yes, like I would love to see, and once again, that's why I love Donald Trump, because anybody who's not America first, like if you're a liberal and you want us to quit interjecting into fucking everything around the world, which to me is the one thing where I feel like nobody wants to admit it, but I think liberals and conservatives, for the most part, are on the same page. Like, let's just quit messing with everybody else.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm wrong there. No. Liberals want us to go ahead and interject in Israel, Gaza. Now they want Iran to succeed.
Ironically.
First it was Ukraine. They want to do everything except for sign up to actually fight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I take that back. But I love the America First agenda because I don't like what Iran's doing. But fuck, if that's what they're going to do, then that's what they're going to do. And if they don't want to do that, they need to fight their own fucking war.
Yeah. Well, that thing that happened with Iran, I don't know about you guys, but it made me.
I got a huge boner. Huge fucking boner.
Fucking proud to be an American.
Yes. I love.
Oh my God!
First, I was like, "This is bullshit. We shouldn't be interjecting." But then it's like, okay, so you set a precedence now that we can fly a 36-hour round trip without being detected by anybody in Russia or China, and we can go wherever the fuck we want in the world and drop whatever bomb we want with fucking precise precision.
Yeah.
Like once in a while, the alpha has to come out and remind everybody why they're the fucking alpha. And that's what he did right there. And what happened the next day? Oh, 12-day war. Yeah, we're gonna have peace talks now. We're good. Fucking drives me nuts. And the first thing the liberals did was they spanned the news and says, well, we don't have any reports that they're fully destroyed. So it may not have been a successful mission. They root for him to fail. Like, don't get me wrong. I am no fan of Biden.
Yeah.
But if somebody fucking threw a shoe at him the way they did at Bush, I want their fucking head chopped off.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't like Biden, but that was still the president of the United States. Yeah. Nobody fucks with him, right?
Sort of. He was sort of the president of the United States.
Well, I don't think he won. I don't think he won.
I don't think he won either, but his cognitive abilities weren't really there. And I don't know if you heard about the auto
I
pin.
respect the office.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, I agree that 1,000%.
You know, same if I was invited to the White House to meet Biden, even though I despise him, if by the way, I don't despise Biden for what he did in office. I despise him for what he did the 30 years leading up to that.
Exactly.
He was not a good person. And somehow all of those videos have been destroyed from YouTube. Like, it's hard to find old videos of Biden.
Yeah.
Like, that dude was a fucking asshole.
Yep.
So anyway, but I respect The Office. And I just, once again, I got a huge boner off that story because, again, once in a while, the alpha has to stand up and say, there's a reason I'm the alpha. Here's your reminder.
Yeah.
And in the end, less people will die because of it.
No, and that's exactly what was projected. And I'm glad that Iran didn't escalate things and decided to go into peace talks, because they could. The way I see it, they're basically trying to save whatever face they have left. Because after the 1970s, when the regime changed and they went with the Ayatollah, I mean, you look at video
Such
and
a shame,
images,
dude.
it's so sad.
It's such a shame, dude. Iranian chicks are hot, and they covered them all up, man. It's not cool.
It's like slapping God in the face, you know.
I know. But yeah, pre-70s, it was a thriving society, and they went a different way. And I don't blame Iran for basically being insubordinate this time around, because look at our track record. The last time they fucked around, they didn't find out. We gave them a fucking shit ton of money.
Yep.
Oh, please don't build any nuclear stuff. Here's some money. Here's some money. Not Trump. He was like, oh, you're building nuclear stuff? No. Not on my watch.
It's like giving Walter White a fucking $1 billion and said, hey, don't make any crystal meth, okay, buddy? You're gonna be good now. You know,
I hated his wife in that show. I hated his wife in that show.
That was the point. She was terrible.
But that was her role. That was her role.
I've watched it 3 times though, but I will say the last time I watched it, I'm like, maybe she's not a bitch.
Support your husband.
Like, put yourself in that place. Like, maybe she's not a bitch. But
do you not remember saying for better or for worse?
I mean, perfectly. One of my favorites is the Queen from Game of Thrones was on an interview with Jay Leno, whatever her name was. Have you watched Game of Thrones, Jess?
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Yeah, you heard this?
So she was walking down the street, and like someone was like, "Bitch!" Like, shame. Just play the character so well, but you're like, I hate you so much,
dude. There's some people though that are such good actors that you have to think that they're like that in real life. Scariest one to me, Christopher Waltz. Remember that he's in Inglourious Bastards, Django, where he's just like, oh, I'm so polite and innocent, and then he just fucking shanks you. Like that dude. He has to be sinister in real life.
Yeah, 2 of his best roles were with Django and Inglourious Bastards.
He's so good.
When he was in that scene when he went to go visit the farmer and he got the cup of milk. Dude, the tension. You could cut with a knife, dude.
I know.
Like, I was waiting for that guy to just start beating sweat and just like freaking, you know what I mean? Like that one scene of Key and Peele. Remember where she's asking about her browser history, and then all of a sudden it's like, like something like that, you know? But no, I mean, the other actor
too, because
some people like. I just assume
shit in the 80s when he's like in his 20s. And he's just kind of like a Robin Williams clown.
Right. Yeah.
It's a big there's some people like the chicken Friends that plays who's the dumb one?
Phoebe.
Well, they're all dumb. Phoebe. Like she plays the same fucking character in every role. Yeah. So you just have to assume she's a ditz in real life, right?
Is The Rock. Jason Statham is that person. Like there's people that play themselves, and then there's Gary Oldman, in my opinion, is the best actor of all time.
Who?
Gary Oldman. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
He's a legend, dude. He doesn't get enough credit, man.
All right, next podcast, Joe. Next podcast.
actor
I'm
of
going
all.
to do some research. We're going to do best actor and actress of all time.
Well,
and we'll have different categories because you need comedic, you need dramatic.
That's true.
Yeah.
But Gary Oldman to me is the best actor of all
Should
time.
there be an adult category?
I don't think I watch enough adult categories in order for me to fulfill something like that.
That's a different one because it's off your just of that time of the night.
All right. We'll leave adult out of it. We'll save that for another show. But I want to talk best actors next show.
Okay.
And most tragic. Yes.
Well, apparently Brian's coming back to Fast and the Furious 15.
Are they making another fucking Fast and the Furious?
Yes, they are, and Brian's going to come back somehow.
Didn't they go into space on the last one? How the fuck? Are they going to hijack a SpaceX rocket?
Jesus Christ.
So that was another argument I got into the other day. So I've got a friend that hates Elon Musk. Oh, that fucking asshole.
But
and
not
so we're getting into it, and I'm like, let's just pause for a minute. Like,
yeah,
you know, why? Oh, well, he's just getting all these government subsidies and he's only in it for himself. And I was like, well, hold on a minute though, because you're a taxpayer. At the end of the day, you should like whatever saves you money. We have NASA who gets hundreds of billions of dollars every year. That's our space program. They don't have a fucking space shuttle. NASA cannot go to space, but Elon can. So, and he can do it for a lot cheaper. So do you want 150 billion of your tax dollars going to NASA, or do you want 50 billion of your dollars going to SpaceX and Elon Musk? We live in a capitalist society. I like the free market answer to this.
Yeah, it's going to have to be Elon.
I know you're mad he's getting government money and your tax dollars, but realistically, at the end of the day, he's creating competition and he's bringing prices down. And he was just like, well, yeah, but he's a fucking asshole. Okay. All right.
Well, that's a whole different conversation altogether.
So years ago, Rudy.
I know.
He was a very far left human being.
Who?
You.
Oh, Jesse. Yeah, me. Yeah, I was.
And he called me and he was complaining.
There were 2 key events that changed it.
Yes, and this is a small note. And he like had to go to the post office or something. And he was bitching that he had to wait in line. And I was like, that's crazy because the post office and the DMV here is privatized. So you just walk in and it's done. Like there's no line. You're just in and out. California, fucking nightmare. Haven't experienced in Oregon, but I'm like, that's weird. Sometimes there's too much government reach and it just fucks up the entire thing.
So 3 things changed it for me, Rudy. Number 1, I moved to Portland. So I'm surrounded, right? And I've seen how it functions and it doesn't work well. That being said, I am a huge believer in balance. I think you need the right and you need the left. Like you need that balance. Like if it weren't for the left, music would suck and we'd have nowhere good to eat, right? Like in movies, like your typical artist is going to be more left because they are a bleeding heart and that's what produces a good artist. So I'm all good with balance. But the 2 things that changed it for me were the speech that Trump gave where they villainized him for saying, and there were good people on both sides. And I saw that and I was like, that motherfucking racist asshole. Fuck that guy. And then somebody, it might have been Joe, said, hey, why don't you go watch the full clip? And I watched the full speech and I was like, that was definitely taken out of context. And then I started listening to some more stuff and I'm like, no, this is just a patriot that is a severe sociopath, but I'm good with it, right? The other thing that changed it for me was the Second Amendment. Paris happened. So in Paris, some dude couldn't get a fucking gun. So he just rented a U-Haul and drove it into a fucking parade and killed a ton of people. Probably more than he could have got with any gun. And it's just like made me think like shitty people are going to be shitty people. If somebody wants to kill, they're going to kill. Why would I take away my own means of defense?
In England, it's a knife.
Yeah, they're talking about banning knives in England.
Yep.
It's like
Crazy.
if somebody's gonna kill somebody, they're gonna fucking kill somebody.
Yeah.
Take
Did
away
you talk
their
about banning katanas in Japan?
In
Oh,
England,
no. Sorry.
in England, what is it called? The chain. It's called a chain. It's basically like a shirt, but it's for stab proofing yourself. Like
Chainmail.
England,
It's
What?
like
Like
shark bite proof.
Yeah.
The weaved metal.
yeah, the weave metal, right? So they're
Insane.
bringing that shit back in England, dude. Because the
That's the thing.
stabbing,
Like,
it's
why
so
don't
bad.
more people look at what's happened in England and some of these places that have allowed tons of people in? And once again, I'm all for immigration, but you can't come to another country and say we're not going to assimilate. We have our own culture. It's never going to fucking work.
No, it
It's
won't.
not going to work.
It won't. And unfortunately, like the common one of the most common things that I see on my end, particularly to the Hispanic and Latino community, is that a lot of these people get mixed up of where they are and where they've been.
Mm.
And unfortunately, what ends up happening is an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And then they feel like they have to side with one side. And then what happens is they go, well, I'm going to focus on what my family is because I don't want Theo Hector deported because he's here
Mm-hmm.
illegally. And then it's just a snowball effect where they end up siding with the side that they would never go to live in Mexico. Unless it's like
Mm-hmm.
Cancun or Puerto Vallarta or some place like that. They would be like, oh yeah, I can live here. And then but they don't. They end up somewhere in TJ, and a bad part in
Mm-hmm.
Rosarito. And what ends up happening is, again, it's an identity crisis. And I feel for them.
It happened to me
But
during my emo phase.
exactly. But that's what I really honestly believe it is. It's just a phase.
Mm-hmm.
If it really came down to the nuts to butts, dude, like when it really comes down to it, they're gonna have to make a choice. And if they want to side with their heritage and they want to go fight on the side with Mexico, it's gonna turn into one of those situations. Like, I don't know if you watched Shane Gillis' special "Beautiful Dogs."
Oh, when he was like, "It's gonna happen." You just get older and you start watching history, and
Here's my Shane Gillis impression.
so fucking perfect.
Yeah, that part, and the part where he goes like this, the part where he says, he's all, who I could relate with more, it's the Al-Qaeda guys. They're more my speed, you know what I mean? Because they're like, their feet move when they shoot their guns and all this and that. And it's like, I'm not pro ISIS. I'm just letting you guys know that. But that's going to be them because, I mean, fortunately for us, we have the greatest military in the freaking world. And there
And the greatest militia in the world.
And the greatest militia in the world, dude. There's going to be a gun behind every blade of grass, and they're going to just get fucked up.
Well, I'm going to give my closing statement because we're running long. And I'm going to say that from my perspective, my lesson learned on immigration is, as all great things, tying back to a movie that taught us all lessons. The Titanic. When the Titanic sunk, there's only so much room on that door. Now, there was plenty of room for Jack, and Rose is a fucking bitch. We can all agree on that, right?
Agree.
But the point is Jack and Rose could have both fit on that door and lived, but only them, not a third. All three of them would have sank, and that's my whole thing with immigration. I feel for these people. I pray for these people. I feel terrible that they're from countries where things aren't as amazing as America. But at the end of the day, if we don't have law and we don't have order, our country is going to end up exactly like theirs, especially if they come over here and they bring the same set of values that put them in that situation in the first place.
Exactly. Well said.
Fucking Rose. What a whore. God damn it.
What now? Like 12?
I'm just gonna throw this fucking priceless jewel in the ocean. Never mind the guy that I'm actually married to and had children with.
Never mind
Fuck that guy. I'm gonna think about the guy that I had a fling with for 2 days.
And flew you for free to hear your stupid ass fucking story.
Yeah.
She's on shit to hear your dumbass story, and you had it the whole time, you selfless bitch.
Not to mention the granddaughter that's wheeling her ass around. You don't think she could use some of that diamond money?
Correct.
Fucking bitch.
I think her and Jenny are the worst freaking female characters of all time.
Jenny, I can stand up for a little bit because she had a traumatic childhood, but same thing. Oh, sorry, Forrest. I got AIDS, but yeah, I'll finally have sex with you now. The fuck?
Oh, dude.
I don't even think that was his kid. Sorry.
God. And she was not cute. Jenny just looked like fucking an ogre to me.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Okay. This is where we end the show because I'm going to tie it right back into where it started. Right back in. Okay. Jenny in Forrest Gump. Meh. Okay. Jenny in House of Cards at 50 plus.
Is she in that movie series?
She's in House of Cards opposite Kevin Spacey.
I don't remember.
She's the first lady. Fucking smoke show.
Did she have bangs? She covered the forehead.
Like short power hair. They were power couple.
The giant forehead.
Yeah, but the point is she aged very gracefully.
Yeah,
and good for her. She's a smoke show nowadays.
We can all agree Elizabeth Shue aged better than anyone.
Oh God, dude! If you got perfect teeth and a cute face,
which one is that one?
Elizabeth Shue is from
Elizabeth Shue
originally.
Karate Kid, Cocktails,
The Boys,
Babysitter,
and she's the CEO in The Boys. Have you seen that series?
Oh yes,
Val Kilmer, The Saint.
Yeah,
you remember the movie The Saint?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Elizabeth Shue.
Shue.
Forever
secrets in her bra. I want to know those secrets. Cold fusion.
Cold fusion.
Hot fusion now. All right, we're gonna call it. Rudy, thanks for coming on, man. It was great to see you.
Thanks for having me, Jesse. It's good to see you too, man.
Hopefully, I appreciate your perspective. Joe, sorry we didn't let you talk.
Huh?
Sorry we didn't let you talk, but that's every show.
No shit.
So, all right, I'm gonna end the recording and then we can all wrap for a minute here. Let me just find the fucking manage recording.
You can't figure out how to turn it off because he's 50.
Stop recording.
Subscribe and share the Riff of Life podcast.
Riff of Life.